Okay, good afternoon. Our topic is on the solutions of quadratic equations by computing the square. So you have finished already the first two methods, that is the extraction of your square root and factoring. So completing the square, when we speak of completing the square that we are referring to here is your perfect square trinomial. So we have discussed already your perfect square trinomial. Okay? So let's have an example of a quadratic equation that we could solve by completing the square. So for example, we have our x squared plus 4x minus 5 is equal to 0. So you notice that this is already in the standard form. Okay. So we are going to apply the 5 steps in completing the square. So we have the first step is we have to separate the terms with your variable x and your constant. So since this is negative 5, we apply your addition property of equality. So to make the 0, we add both sides by 5. So we arrive at x squared plus 4x is equal to 5. Next, we have to take b over 2 and then square that. B is your numerical coefficient of your x, and that is 4 divided by 2 and then square it. 4 divided by 2 is your 2 square, and that would give us 4. What shall we do with 4? This would be added to both sides, okay, of our equation. So add to both sides of your equation. So it would give us your x squared plus 4x plus 4 is equal to 5 plus 4. So you notice that 4 is added to both sides of our equation. Then look at the left side of your equation. It is already a perfect square trinomial. And how are we going to factor out a perfect square trinomial? So we have your factors of your x squared. We have your x times your x. Factors of 4 that would give you your 4 as the sum would be both positive 2. And that is equal to 5 plus 4 is 9. Since our terms or the factors are the same, we could express this as your square of a binomial. So it would give us x plus 2 squared is equal to 9. Applying now the extraction of your square root, so we extract the square root of both sides. So the square root of x plus 2 squared would be equal to your x plus 2. And the square root of your 9 would be positive negative 3. So we separate the positive and the negative root. So we have x is equal to, x plus 2 is equal to 3. And the other one would be x plus 2 is equal to negative 3. Simplifying, we have x is equal to 3. Apply again subtraction property of equality. So this would become 0. So we subtract both sides by 2. So we have x now is equal to positive 1. On the other side, we have your x is equal to negative 3. Again, subtraction property of equality. So positive becomes negative. So x now is equal to negative 5. Okay? So our solutions are positive 1 and negative 5. Okay? So this would satisfy our equation. X squared plus 4x minus 5 is equal to 0. So if you want to counter check, simply substitute your 1 and your negative 5 respectively in our equation. X squared plus 4x minus 5 is equal to 0. Okay. So this is the first example in completing the square as a method in solving our quadratic equation. So shall we take another example? Okay. So how about if we have our x squared plus 7x plus 12 is equal to 0. Okay. The same process, we need to separate the terms with our variable x and our constant. So we have x squared plus 7x is equal to, this is a positive 12, so we need to subtract both sides by your 12. So positive 12 minus 12 will be 0, and 0 plus 12 will give us negative 12. Okay. We take again our p, divide it by 2, and then after which square that. So we have 7 over 2 square. And what is 7 over 7 squared? So that is 49. And 2 square will give us 4. Again, 49 over 4 should be added to both sides of our equation. So we have x squared plus 7x plus 49 over 4 is equal to negative 12 plus 49 over 4. Again, we add 49 over 4 on both sides of the equation. Then we need to factor out the left side of the equation. So factors of our x squared would be x and x. Factors of 49 over 4 would be 7 over 2 and 7 over 2. Since our middle term is positive, so we have both positive. Okay, and that is equal to, we need to simplify also the right side of our equation. The denominator of negative 12 is 1, so we need to take the LCD of 1 and 4, and that is 4. 4 divided by 1 is 4 times negative 12 is negative 48. Plus 4 divided by 4 is 1 times 49 is 49. We are going now to express the left side of our equation as the square of a binomial, and that would give us x plus 7 over 2 square is equal to, we simplify also, your 49 minus 48 is 1, and that is over 4. Again, extract the square root of both sides, and this will give us x plus 7 over 2 is equal to, square root of your 1 will give us positive negative 1, and square root of 4 is 2. Separate again the positive and the negative. So we have to take the positive first. So 7 over 2, x plus 7 over 2 is equal to positive 1 half. And this is now our x is equal to 1 half. Positive becomes negative 7 over 2. So x now is equal to 7. 1 minus 7 is negative 6 over 2. So the value of our x is negative 3. So this is the first value of our x. Go back to our negative. So how about if our root is negative? So x plus 7 over 2 is equal to negative 1 half. So x now is equal to negative 1 half minus 7 over 2. And we have similar terms. So we have negative 1 minus 7 is negative 8 divided by 2. So the next value, or the second value of our x is negative 4. So from here, our solutions are, we have negative 3 and negative 4. Okay? So these are the solutions of our equation. X squared plus 7x plus 12 is equal to 0. Okay? So this is the second example in our completing the square. How about if our x squared has a numerical coefficient aside from 1, or simply our a is greater than 1? So let's have an example of that. So we have 2x squared plus 8x. 2x squared plus 8x minus 24 is equal to 0. So take note that our a is no longer 1, it's already 2. So what shall we do with this? We need to divide all the terms by the numerical coefficient of our x squared. This is your 2, so 2 over 2 is 1. So what remains now is our x squared plus 8x divided by 2 is 4x. 24 divided by 2, negative 24 divided by 2 is negative 12, and that is 0 divided by 2 is 0. Then, proceed to the process. So, we have now your x squared plus 4x is equal to, so negative 12 becomes positive 12. Again, take your b over 2 and square it. Our b is 4 divided by 2. Square your 4 divided by 2. This is your 2, and this will give us your 4. This would be added to both sides of our equation. So we have x squared plus 4x plus 4 equals 12 plus 4. And this would be factoring out your x squared plus 4x plus 4 will give us x and x. Factors of 4 would be positive 2 and positive 2. Simplifying the right side, 12 plus your 4 is 16. Express your x plus 2 times x plus 2. So this would be x plus 2 square. That is equal to 16. Extracting the square to both sides, this would give us x plus 2 is equal to positive negative 4. Separate the positive and the negative. So x plus 2 is equal to positive 4. And the other side, x plus 2 equals negative 4. So x now is equal to 4. This is positive, so becomes negative. So x is equal to 4 minus 2 is positive 2. Then we have here your x is equal to negative 4 minus 2. So x now is equal to negative 6. Okay. So if we are going to look at our equation, 2x squared plus 8x minus 24 is equal to 0, our solutions would be positive 2 and negative 6. So these are the solutions of our equation. Okay? So I have given 3 examples in completing the squares. So I hope you have understood the process. We shall proceed now to the last method of solving your quadratic equations. And this time, that is using your quadratic formula. So solutions of quadratic equations by quadratic formula. Okay? So let us presume that we have already derived the formula given in our textbook. That is the quadratic formula, which is x is equal to negative b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. 4 here is a constant and 2 here is also a constant. Okay? So where does your a, b, and your c come from? Okay? So let's go back to the first example. X squared plus 4x minus 5 is equal to 0. Notice that this equation is already in the standard form. Otherwise, if your equation is not yet on the standard form, then you have to transform it in the form ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Okay, so let's identify our a. Your a is the numerical coefficient of your x squared. Your b is the numerical coefficient of x. And your c is our constant. So notice that your a, b, and c are in our formula. So we need to know the value of your a, b, and your c. Okay, so let's identify, that is the next step. Identify now the value of your a. If there is no numerical coefficient that you could see before your x squared, it means 1. Our b is equal to 4 and our c is equal to negative 5. So we simply substitute your a, b, and c in the given quadratic formula. So that is negative, this is negative 4 plus minus your b squared is still 4. We need to square that. Minus 4 times our a there is 1 times our c is negative 5. Divided by 2 times a, which is also equal to 1. Simplifying it further, we have negative 4 plus minus. Square your 4 will give you 16. Negative 4 times 1 times negative 5 will give us a positive 20. Why positive? Because negative times negative is positive over 2. So this is now equal to negative 4 plus minus 16 plus 20 will give us a sum of 36 divided by 2. And this is equal to negative 4 plus minus, extract the square root of 36, and that would be 6 over 2. So we need to separate again the positive and the negative root. So we have the values of x now would be negative 4 plus 6 over 2. And the other one is x is equal to negative 6 minus 6 over 2. So we have now 6 minus 4 will give us 2 over 2. So therefore, the first value of your x is 1. On the other side, this must be 4. On the other side, negative 4 minus 6 is negative 10 over 2. So therefore, our x is negative 5. Okay? So our solutions here are positive 1 and negative 5. So comparing it with the answer that we have arrived at in completing the square a while back with the same equation, so we arrive at the same solutions, positive 1 and negative 4 and negative 5 respectively. Okay? So that is our first example using the quadratic formula. So let's solve also the second problem. This same problem as what we have used a while back, but this time using the quadratic formula. So we have our x squared plus 7x plus 12 is equal to 0. So identifying our a, so that is 1, our b is 7, and our c is positive 12. Substitute the same process by substitution. So we have our x would be negative, our b this time is 7, plus minus, your b squared still, your 7 squared, minus your 4 times our a is 1, our c is 12. All over 2 times 1. And this would give us negative 7 plus minus. What is the square of 7? And that would be 49. What is negative 4 times 1 times 12? That is negative 48. All over 2 times 1 is 2. So therefore, our x is negative 7 plus minus 49 minus 48 is 1 over 2. Extracting now the square root of your positive 1, and that would be 1 over 2. So let us separate again the positive and negative root. So our values of x would be x is equal to negative 7 plus 1 over 2. And that is 7 minus 1 is negative 6 rather. Negative 7 plus 1 is negative 6 over 2. And this is negative 3. The first value of our x is negative 3. Let's take also the negative root. So x now is equal to negative 7 minus 1 over 2. And x now is equal to negative 8 over 2. And what is 8? Negative 8 divided by 2. And that would be negative 4. So the same as what we have obtained a while ago, the solutions are negative 3 and negative 4 respectively. Okay? So we have solved already the second problem using our quadratic formula. So we have one more problem wherein our x squared is bearing a numerical coefficient other than your 1. But this time, we have your 2. So let's use the same problem. 2x squared plus 8x minus 24 equals 0. Okay. So take a look at your 2, 8, and negative 24. If we divide all by your 2, this would reduce our term to lowest form. So, this would give us x squared plus 4x minus 12 is equal to 0 over 2 is 0. What is our A? A is 1. What is our B? B is 4. And what is our C? It is negative 12. So, using these values of A, B, and C respectively in our equation, so we have negative 4 plus minus your 4 squared minus your 4 times 1 times your negative 12 over 2 times 1. And this would be negative 4 plus minus, squaring your 4 is 16. Negative times negative is positive. And what is 4 times 12? That is 48 over 2. So our x would be negative 4 plus minus. If we add your 16 plus 48, it would give us a sum of 64 over 2. And what is the square root of 64? It is 8. So divide by 2. Separate again the values or the roots, the positive and the negative roots. So x is equal to negative 4 plus 8 over 2. So x is equal to 8 minus 4 is 4 over 2. Therefore, the value of x is 2. On the other hand, we take the negative. X is equal to negative 4 minus 8 over 2. So x now is, what is negative 4 minus 8 is negative 12 over 2. So our x is equal to negative 6. So therefore, our solutions are, we have your 2 and negative 6. Okay. So how about if you're not able to divide your terms by the numerical coefficient of your x squared, and you take as is? Okay. So let's try to find out. Can we arrive at the same answer as your positive 2 and negative 6? So let's try to discover. Okay. So we are going to deal with the original equation. Okay, without reducing it to your lowest term. Okay, so let's try to investigate. So let's apply our mathematical investigation. So, originally, our equation is your 2x squared plus 8x minus 24 is equal to 0. This time, our A is 2, our B is 8, and our C is negative 24. So we are going to substitute your A, B, and C respectively in our equation, in our quadratic formula. So we have negative 8 plus minus. We have to take your 8 squared minus 4 times A. This time is 2 times our C is negative 24. Divided by 2 times our A this time is your 2. And this would be a negative 8 plus minus. Square your 8 would give you a 64. Negative times negative is positive. So we have 96 times your 2. And what is 96 times 2? That would give you 192 over your 4. And this is negative 8 plus minus. If we add your 64 and 192, it would give us a sum of 256 over 4. So negative 8 plus minus. What is the square root of 256? It would be 16. So if we multiply your 16, this is 36, that is 12, and that is 1. Okay? So that is 256. So that is correct. Over 4. So we have now your values of your x as negative 8 plus 16 over 4. And the other one is negative 8 minus 16 over 4. So x now is equal to 80 minus 8 is 8 over 4. So x is equal to positive 2. That is the first value of our x. The second value would be negative 24 over 4. So x now is equal to negative 6. So therefore, our solutions are positive 2 and negative 6. So looking back at the answer that we have arrived at a while ago using your completing the square, we have also the same answers as 2 and negative 6. Okay? So that is the last method of solving your quadratic equations, and that is by quadratic formula. And again, quadratic formula is a method that can be used in any kind of quadratic equations. Okay? So if there are some questions on our topic, you could just post your questions or your queries in our group chat. So that's all for today. Good afternoon.